Good afternoon, good afternoon. I'm so sorry it's come up as 12:02 and not 12, and there is a very good reason for that. I was faffing around with trying to get the light off the computer. It is so hot in the studio. I've got the aircon on in there, but it's one of those big units and it's really noisy. So I switched it off and went, oh no, it's just going to be too hot to do the live, or it's going to be too noisy. So I came outside, put a scrim up, tried to diffuse the light. That wasn't enough. So now you should see behind me, I've got this massive black backdrop to keep all the light off here just for a minute so I can sit under the tree and talk to you guys about tripods. That was a very long-winded way for me to say hello, wasn't it? Hello. If you are here live, please do say hello to me. If you are watching it on catch up, please do put in #replay, and then I know that you have seen it. Thank you very much. Let me see who we've got here. Hello, Hannah. Lovely to have you here with us. Caro, oh, you're still feeling rough. So you're watching. It's keeping your brain occupied, but you don't have to move your limbs. I think just get a little bit more chocolate and something like that, and that will work really well for you. So I've been pouring cold water all over my head to cool off. Oh my goodness. I don't think I should do that quite at the moment. Might not look too great. Give it 20 minutes and I might be able to do it. So hello, welcome. I am going to be talking about tripods today, different tripods, why we use tripods. Hello, Jufy64. Let me know what your name is and I can say hello to you properly. Only problem with YouTube, everyone's got funky names. So yeah, let's talk about tripods, why we use tripods, what's the best tripods to use, and what my preference is with tripods and handheld. So first of all, for me, I am going to use a tripod with food and drink wherever possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Wherever possible, I am going to use a tripod. I'm going to give you the pros and cons to see what you think. The reason that I use a tripod is to keep my camera stable, really stable, because as human beings, as soon as we press a button on a camera, we're actually going to move the camera slightly while we press that button. Hello, Steve. So when we press that button, even if we're really, really careful and we bring our elbows in and do everything we can, we're still going to have a slight bit of instability on that camera, which could be really different for your strawberry being in focus and your strawberry not being in focus. We're working in a very small group. We're not looking at a whole landscape. So we want that to be really stable, which in turn means that our images are really sharp and we want our food and drink to be super, super, super sharp. Hello, David. So even just those tiny movements with that shutter is going to soften the shot and not get you that sharpness you want. Also, if you're working in low light or you've got something with a long exposure for detailed food work, that's where you're going to really need to hang on to that tripod, and it will give you the most beautiful results without you getting blurred or everything going quite soft. The other reason, other than all the stability issues, is consistency. If you're keeping your same angle, the same distance and the same framing, you might want to do a pop shot. You might have a let's say you might have a macaron shot and you've got 12 different colors of macarons and you put them all in the same place on the backdrop. Your camera hasn't moved, and then you can suddenly do a really funky reel with bop, 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 because your tripod and your framing and the distance is exactly the same. Put a little bit of blue tack on so that your macaron is in the same place, and you can do a really funky like pop, 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 and it works really well for you. So that's a great reason for that consistency. And if a client gets something like that, they normally love those kind of shots. But also, if it's a product shop and everything needs to look exactly the same on the website for the continuity, another great reason to use the tripod. And also ease, it's a lot easier to use a tripod and put your camera onto that tripod and then you can experiment with changing your composition and changing angles and moving things with your tripod and just leaving it there rather than having to reach on one leg, balancing over furniture with a camera in your hand. And obviously safety and not breaking your camera, depends which you value more, your camera or your safety. Lots of things that happen there. Detailed shots. If you are steaming, drizzling, pouring, sprinklage, if you're doing anything with that kind of thing, if you've got splashes, sugar dusting, all that kind of thing, then having your camera on the tripod for extra sharpness is beautiful. And sometimes what will happen is that you'll get rain. Your icing sugar might look like rain and you think, I've been changing my shutter speed, I'm working with artificial light, I've got the right speed of light, I've got the right camera settings. Sometimes it's just as simple as putting that camera onto a tripod so it's just sharp, 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 and then suddenly you get the beautiful little sprinkles of dots rather than the rains, which is what we're trying to do with it. So that works exceptionally well for extreme sharpness, for those kind of what I call action shots. I've just lost a backdrop. Has that made me very bright? If it has, just tell me and I will put it back on again. The wind is blowing them all over the place. I should really have a behind the scenes of what's happening. I'm going to have to take a picture of it afterwards. You can see what's blowing in the wind. It's hilarious for me. Let's also talk about workflow speed. If your camera is on a tripod and you're tethered to a laptop and your camera is locked into place and all you're doing is styling, adjusting, taking the photo, styling, adjusting, taking the photo, styling, adjusting, taking the photo, it really speeds up your workflow of what you're doing. I will get a picture afterwards, honestly. There's so much construction around me. It's fantastic. So they are the reasons I use a tripod 99.9% of the time. But let's go with the pros and cons of handheld, because you might have some other things. If we're holding our camera, it's faster. It's more spontaneous. You might get the image rather than fiddling around with the tripod and then you've missed the pour, the shake, the whatever it is. So it's easier to move around and faster, and you can think on your feet a little bit more if you're hand holding. Obviously, the cons that we've spoke about are that you're going to more likely get a blur on sprinkling or on the whole image. You might get inconsistent framing if it's for a client that needs everything to be exactly the same thing. And you're really going to struggle handhold in lower light. So let's have a look at the pros and cons of a tripod. Pros, obviously, sharper professional results, perfect for detailed work and consistency, better for commercial shoots and when you're tethering. The cons of a tripod, obviously, are they're bigger to carry, they're bigger to lug around, slower to set up, and they can feel clunky in tight spaces, especially if you've got artificial light and a tripod and everything else, and you're tripping over everything. So let's now have a look at the different types of tripods that you can have. And where we would use these tripods. So for me, I've got a very, very heavy aluminium tripod that I've had for 20 years. This is my very heavy tripod. I'll talk to you about we'll talk to you about different tripods in a minute and everything else. This one is a heavy 20-year-old one. Whereas now they're so much lighter. Look at the difference that I had, like picking this one up that I bought a couple of years ago in comparison to this one. And you're probably thinking, well, why are you still using it then? I've got to say, I much prefer the old one to the new one. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. One, I'm forever leaning on a tripod or doing something or looking at something. And this big one stays put, like it does not move. It stays put and it's great. I'll still take that out to a client, but if I've got to travel through London or do something like that, it's going to be a lot clunkier to take the big one. And sometimes if I've got to be short on space, obviously taking this one that is lighter is better. Now, both of these are still aluminium. They're just, one is 20 years old and one is 2 years old. So things have moved on quite a bit with tripods. So if you're sitting at home with a really old clunky one, you can still upgrade to another aluminium one, but it would just be a lot lighter than what you're using at the moment. However, you can also get a carbon fiber tripod, which is a little bit more expensive. You're going to pay on the same tripod about £50 to £100 more. They are super light. You can put them into a bag. You can go off, do your landscapes, everything like that. They're super light to cart around. For me, I'm not doing that. I'm only going as far as taking something like this to a client, and I don't really need to think about it being super light, because when I can drive to a client with all of my kit, it doesn't really make much difference at all to me. So I've never had to buy the carbon fiber one. Aluminium is heavier, cheaper, and brilliant for setups and everything. The carbon fiber is lighter, it's a bit pricier. You can move around a bit more with you. It will feel so light in comparison to everything else. So it's entirely up to you. But if you are here for food and drink and you are not moving around too much, or you're not having to sit on the tube or a train with your kit too much, then you don't need to pay the higher price tag unless you want something super light. So just to help you there, if you're between which ones you're wanting to work with at the moment, an aluminium one will be perfectly fine for you. And I had that. I almost bought the carbon fiber one in the shop because I was thinking like, well, this must be the best one. It's the most expensive. You know, that mindset that we have with money when we see that things are more expensive, we think, well, it must be better. Actually, it wasn't right for what I needed. It may have been better for a landscape photographer, or someone's going to go up to the top of a mountain and do an aerial shot on the top of a mountain. It wasn't right for me, and that's something that we need to think about. So when we're looking at our tripods and you've decided which you're going to go for, you then need to decide on what type of head that you are putting on it. Is it a ball head that you put onto your camera, or is it just a handheld if it's got a lever with it? You need to think about what it is that's going to work for you in that tripod, where it makes it easy for you to use. Geared head, I was trying to get my word out of what it was. So ball heads are quicker movement, really easy for repositioning. Geared heads are slower, but they're more precise on what you want to do. So with both of mine, I've just got a clip release with a ball head in that one, and also the same with this one. I've got that as well. I can move it around as much as I like within that, but there are obviously more extravagant ways of putting that on top of your head. So if you buy your tripod and you're not happy with how it moves, you are always able to move the top bits and have them working how you want them to work. Secondly, on your tripod, I made a mistake with my new tripod and I'm a bit gutted about it, but I can't do anything about it now. So if you're looking at buying a tripod, I'll tell you the mistake that I made. So my super duper old one that I really have to go to pick up has got the locks, 2 different locks you get with the tripods. Sorry, it's always backwards here. This one here goes up and down with the clips in place. I love this. The clips are great. I've got 1, 2, 3 clips on this, and I can just open them up and move the legs around as much as I need to on these clips. Beautiful, lovely. And there is that option on the newer tripods, but for some reason I went with the screw legs, and they're great and it's nice and compact, but they don't always stay in place, and I have to really keep tightening them. And then sometimes, which I shouldn't do, and I lean on my tripod, it all like goes towards the floor. So I'm not a fan. But again, this is showing you all the things that you can do, whether you want the clips that I showed you first, or if you prefer the twist locks. They're a lot neater. They look a lot cuter, but I haven't enjoyed having these because I wanted something a little bit meatier than what I've got here. So that's the two things we've got on there. Let's just talk about the brands. You can get some really cheap tripods on Amazon or anywhere else. I'm not saying that it has to be at Amazon, but there are some really good brands around at the moment. Personally, I'm a Manfrotto girl. I've only ever had Manfrotto tripods, but when people have come on my retreats and I've seen different things that people are using, I really do like some of the other big brands that are out there at the moment. Gitzo, Benro, and I really like the three-legged thing. The three-legged thing is a really nice, funky brand. They've got some really nice ones, not necessarily with the price tag that you get with Manfrotto, but you will also get a lot of Manfrottos on eBay, Vinted. So they last. You know, my 20-year tripod here has lasted so well, and I'm still using it each day that I'm in the studio. So you're buying something that lasts. If this is a longevity thing, you're buying things that last here. So, you know, don't worry about thinking, oh, you know, what's it going to do for me? So I'm just going to pop that one down there. Phone. My screw leg tripod does that too, and one is really stuck as if there's sand inside and it stops sliding. Yeah, if you like your screw legs, that's absolutely fine. I'm just not a huge fan. I'm not going to upgrade the tripod. I'm waiting for something to fall off it, hoping something falls off it so I can get one with the clip legs, but I'm not going to get another one just because the legs are a bit irritating. Now, one last thing, if you're here and you're still on a phone, or you're wanting phones to do your reels at the same point, please get yourself, sometimes they're a little selfie stick. This acts as a selfie stick, the legs go in, and it's just got the holder for my phone. This is fantastic. When I'm shooting for myself in the studio, I set this up in the background with my phone on so that I can just record my reels, and I can record myself faffing around for an hour and then speed it all up and make it look like it was effortless in 45 seconds. But sometimes I just put this on in the background and forget about it. So if you're here and you're thinking, I've got loads of photos, I just want more behind the scenes content and I don't work with anyone, or I don't really know what to do, just buy yourself a cheap 10 to 20 pound tripod, stick your camera on it, let it run, and then you can do great things with that, which I will talk about in another thing of what we do with the reels and the behind the scenes, but that is not today. I'm going off topic. There are some really cheap tripods. Just be really careful with how cheap you go for. If something's really flimsy and you're putting a camera onto something like that, you're actually going to create more vibration in it. You walk along the floor, it's going to wobble. These are things that are just not going to build to last and are actually not, you might be tricking yourself that they're actually doing a better job than they are. If you are using a flimsy one, or if you're not, use a timer. If you're not tethering and you're not pressing the button on your laptop, use the timer on your camera or your phone so that when it gets to the point that you're actually taking the photo, you are not touching us. As human beings, we are going to move that phone or that camera. Step away from it. Make sure when you take the photo, it's on timer, because trying to sharpen a soft, blurry photo is really difficult when you've got everything else beautiful. The lighting's right, the composition, the styling, and then you've mucked up your sharpness in your image. It's really, really frustrating for you. So if you want those sharp images, looking at the kind of tripod, again, you don't have to spend a fortune. You can go to Vinted, eBay, you can go to plenty of other places and get a second-hand one. It will really help your work if you're working on the tripod. So one last thing. we need to just talk about where we use our different tripods and why I'm here using 2 tripods at the same time and why I need 2 tripods. The reason I need 2 tripods is I use my big clunky one for eye level work and for 45-degree work. So if I move that round to there, I can move this bit up here and move that to eye level, or I can be looking down and using that at 45 degrees. That works all the time, and that's what I use this one for. However, if I have this camera tripod, this middle axis here actually comes out, and I can then invert the camera, which I'm doing here, and have this tripod upside down. And this tripod then means that I can attach my camera here underneath the tripod, and this is where I do all of my flat lay shots with this camera, with this tripod here. My camera gets attached, it sits at the bottom here, that's pointed down to the floor. Trying to see how, whilst balancing it on the side of the table. Here we go. I move it. I move it around there. Sorry, I'm trying to show you at the same time and I can't actually move it because it's moving everything else. My leg's in the way. So then it will sit on there and it will do the beautiful flat lay on the floor. So I have one tripod that does my 45-degree and eye level. I have one tripod that does my flat lays. This will do all of them. If I take this middle column out and put it the other way around, it does my eye level and my 45-degree. So I don't need 2 tripods. It's just that I love the other tripod better. Sorry. Also, what I used to have before this one is I had the tripod with the horizontal axis, which you can also get. Some of these go across and down. They are pretty good nowadays. If you have the horizontal axis, you also need to have your weight. It needs to be weighted at the end so it doesn't topple over. I had that for quite a few years. I found the horizontal axis was very, very shallow, and I found it quite difficult to get over the top of the flat lays. That's why I changed to this one. The only difference now is my camera is slightly closer to the floor, which means that I've had to buy a lens that shows more of the image, another purchase, now that I've gone to this one. But this one is much better, and I just keep this one set up like this for flat lays all the time. And then I use the big one for 45-degree and eye level. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you. When people come to my studio, they go, oh, I want one of those. And that is just on the bottom of my big camera here. I have got a dolly. These dollies are about £25 from Amazon. And it's literally, I put my tripod into it. It's got the wheels. And you can just move it around. If you're working on hard floor, you can move it around. If you want it then in place, you can lock it. But literally, it just wheels all around my studio, and I absolutely love it. Obviously, if you're doing video, you can get the track that you go down as well. You can use the dolly being pushed forward, but that turns it into something where I've got wheels and it's maneuverable if I'm trying to video something, or if I just don't want to keep picking up a very heavy tripod. So I didn't think I was going to have that much to talk about with tripods, but we're now at 25 minutes. So obviously I'm very passionate about tripods. So let me just see what we've got here. Caro, you always use a tripod when using your phone. Yeah, it's great just to set it in the background and have that. It's brilliant. Faux, because of that, do you use wide angle for flat lays? I use a 35mm faux. So yes, I am going wider. My 50mm on the newer tripod won't fit a whole backdrop. So if it won't fit a whole backdrop in, and I've got it as far as I can, sometimes I put it on posing blocks if I haven't got enough room and I want to use 50mm, and then I raise all 3 legs up on boxes or posing blocks But that was specifically the reason I bought the 35mm to have that wider angle, to be able to use a whole food photography backdrop with that tripod, which works really well for me. You remember my wheels on tripod when you came to the studio? Ah, yes. Yeah, it is things that people go, ooh, I want one of those. So they're called a dolly. If you want a dolly, you should be able to get one on Amazon or anywhere else you want. I don't work for Amazon. I think I should by now. I think I should be getting a lot of commission from Amazon. Any questions from anyone about your tripods, about the weight of tripods, about what you're using, how you get on with yours, or just geeking out about the tripod that you've got? I will just give you a minute, as I know that there is a lag time for it, and hopefully you are all managing to stay cold in the sun. I was going to do some ice cream today and then went, no. Now that I've seen what the studio's like, there's no way that I'm doing ice cream. Okay, so I just gave you a minute there to see if you've got any questions. If there's no questions, I will leave you to your day to probably go and eat ice cream now rather than photograph it. And hope that's helped you with your tripod decisions or hand holding or using a tripod in the future. Okay, thank you very much for everyone joining me, and I will speak to you all very soon. Okay, take care. Bye.